Hey guys, and welcome to the Smite Tactics closed beta. My name is Jaggerus, and today we are updating my beginner deck series due to some big changes that we saw in the closed beta 5 patch. And if you want to know all the details of the closed beta 5 patch, do check out my closed beta 5 patch overview video. But basically what happened was the deck size got increased from 20 cards to 25 cards. And on top of that, all of the neutral spells, formerly known as items, such as, Sunder and Charge and whatnot, they actually got rehomed. So now neutral only contains minions, as you'll see here. All those neutral spells have been rehomed within the different pantheons. For example, Egypt now has Sunder, so Sunder is Egyptian exclusive, whereas previously we ran it in all of our beginner decks. Charge is another example, now in Norse, for example. So you can see a lot of cards have been rehomed, and it meant that the beginner decks were really kind of out of date, so I've decided to update them for you guys. And we're starting off this week with beginner Zeus, as you can see here, so beginner Greek. And this deck is actually super cheap to craft. We only have 4 crafted cards, and they're all commons. We've got 2 Nikes, and we've got 2 Scion of Dooms. And Scion of Doom is a neutral minion, War Cry, so when you play the card, give a friendly +2 attack this turn. And that is like a staple in a lot of decks. You see this, not just in Greek decks, you see it in Norse decks, in Egyptian decks, in Chinese decks. This is a really worthwhile card to get a hold of early on, because it is really effective. And also Nike, she is a 6/5, or Nike, I'm not sure what it is, Nike or Nike. Let me know in the comments below, but she's a 6/5 and she's immune to spells, which is kind of huge. You can't target her with spells, which means against stuff like Egypt with their, execute and clear heavy strategies, especially spell reliant, Nike is in a pretty nice place. So yeah, this is basically a minion or a unit deck. It's a very kind of unit-focused mid-range deck, as you can see by the high number of kind of 3 cost cards that we have. But effectively, we have Purification. This is free. Remove all crowd control effects, so like stuns, roots, banishes from a friendly. But more importantly, it gives them +2 health. So this, I really like as a free, you can basically just increase the health pool of one of your cards by 2 for free. And then the CC cleanse is a bonus. Sometimes it's actually very useful. We have 2 Fire Imps, which is charge 2/1. So they have 2 mobility and they have charge, which means they can attack on the turn that they're summoned. This is kind of just like Sunder, but, Sunder is now Egyptian, so we've got Fire Imp in there. Then we have Marksman, ranged. Whenever you play a god, it gains bonus attack. So this synergizes quite well with some of the gods that we have in this deck, such as Aphrodite, Hades, Athena, and Nike. We have Scion of Doom, like I said, really strong unit, because you can also, synergize Scion of Doom with Fire Imp, for example. Give the friendly +2 attack this turn, and this has got charge, so you could get a 4/1 Fire Imp, which is really nice for clearing the board of problem units. We have Sentry Ward, draw a card from your opponent's deck. This is a lovely card for beginners because you have the potential to get something really powerful, legendary cards, for example, which you don't really have access to as a beginner. Then we have Brontes, he's a 3/3. When you play a god, he gains +1 health. We have Brute, which is a 1/4 with Guard. Guard, basically adjacent allies can't be targeted until you kill the Guard with Brute. So if he's next to, say, a Brontes, you can't target the Brontes until you kill the Brute. That's what Guard does. We have 1 Chaos Spawn, Warcry, Silence a non-leader enemy. Silence is actually, I think, pretty damn useful in this game. You can use it to kind of clear effects that have been applied to a card. So like if someone has spent ages buffing a card, for example, you can maybe remove the buff effects with the Silence. Similarly, you could use it if you're against a Nike to stop her from being immune to spells. It's just a kind of a useful card, and this is a 2/3 neutral unit, so you can kind of tech this into decks if you do want to find some Silence. We have 2 Doom Speakers. This is another neutral card, just a 3/4 card. It's just generally strong, and at 3 mana cost, not too expensive. We have 2 Aphrodites, Warcry, target a friendly, and give them Protect +1. So this stops them from taking damage and heals them for 1 at the start of the turn. We've got 2 Hades, which Warcry forces adjacent enemies to move away from them. We've got 2 Athenas, which is Guard, and she's a 2/7. And then we have those big, hard-hitting Nikes, 6/5 cards. So let's jump into a game, and I'll show you guys this deck in action, as well as talking you through some of the various tactics involved.
Today I fight not for Olympus, but for myself, my light. These immortals must be shown the order of things.
Okay, so we've got the Greek mirror match here. We're going to mulligan Aphrodite and Nike, and we're going to keep the Scion of Doom and Doom Speaker. We also have Zeus. Zeus is the default leader for Greek, but there is also Poseidon. I actually like Zeus better because I think being able to draw a card is kind of a big deal. You can see there he used his mana. I think he used his mana potion and then... Oh no, actually that's a lie, I have mana potion. He just attacked me and that was it. So here we have kind of various options. What we can do, for example, is we could, play the Scion of Doom and use the Warcry on yourself. You can actually self-target with that. But what I think we'll do here is we'll move in. We'll summon up our Doom Speaker so that we have units on the board by using our mana potion. and just try and get presence. I mean, you could play Brontes, but we're not going to be playing any gods until, you know, we hit 5 or 6 mana. So I think Doom Speaker is the better choice. And we'll just trade some damage here, which I'm comfortable doing because we have the board advantage. So I don't mind, you know, taking one hit when we're in control of the board at this point, which is quite nice. What you can imagine he might do here is often players will move back into this position between the 2 rocks and summon a unit here, because then you can't directly target that unit, which is kind of a big deal. As it is, he chose not to. He got his Brontes on the board for 3/3 and kind of has left it at that. And in some ways, I'm actually tempted not to deal with the Brontes at all, and we could just leave it. Alternatively, and this is quite a nice alternative, we can move back 1, use the Scion of Doom, which we'll put here, because then it can't be targeted, on ourselves. We now have, you know, that +2 damage for this turn. We can take out Brontes, who's a melee unit, and then we can also hit the enemy Zeus in the face for 3 with our Doom Speaker, and then we'll end our turn. And this gives us board control. You know, we've summoned up another unit, and we're starting to put pressure on the Zeus as well. We had 1 mana remaining, and I mean, we could have played Brontes or Sentry Ward, but honestly, I think prioritizing board clear is often worthwhile doing, just because it puts your opponent in a difficult position. As it is, he has Thanatos, so we just got Thanatosted. But that's okay, because we can take out Thanatos with our ranged units. So I'm not really too worried about that play, you know, because we can just hit him with this unit. And we'll move to here, hit him with this unit. Thanatos is now dead. And now, I think we'll just summon up our own Brontes, actually. We've got Sentry Ward in hand, but, you know, that's kind of something that we'll play when we have 2 mana spare, basically. At this round, we only have 1, but that's kind of... It's a useful card, but it's not necessarily something I want to focus over having control of the board, which you can see here. And the thing with the Brontes is we now do have Hades, which we can play on the next turn, which will give our Brontes +1 health, which is really nice. And again, Zeus is in a bit of a... He's in a bit of a tricky spot here. And he kind of knows it, because he doesn't really have much board presence compared to us. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful. Divine Intervention, draw 2 random Greek gods. Like, he's just kind of delaying at this point, and this allows us to kind of start to improve our lead even further, because, you know, he's not going to summon units. Well, he might summon units, but, you know, he's already used some mana this turn to target draw some gods, and I personally don't rate Divine Intervention, you know, that highly. Okay, so you'll see there, he used the Scylla, and in clearing with the Scylla, he managed to give her bonus damage. But actually, I don't mind trading here with the Scylla, because I want to get that Hades out. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to trade. I'm going to take the 4 damage and kill the Scylla, which is a kind of a lot of damage, but, you know, it allows me to still spawn Hades this turn, should I want to. I probably should have actually moved before I did that. That was maybe a little bit silly. But I think ultimately it's fine. What we'll do is we'll move in. We'll summon Hades now. His Fear Warcry doesn't trigger because, like, that's why we didn't move in, so I don't get the root. But it doesn't matter too much. Like, missing out on the root's not huge. And then we'll trade with the Zeus. And he's down to 9 health now. And, I mean, we do have a Fire Imp in hand as well, which is, you know, 2 damage. We've got a 2/6 on the board. I think we're in a really strong position. He's probably going to play Athena this turn. I'd imagine he found that with Divine Intervention. If he's put it in his deck to try and get that guard on the board. But as it is, he's put out a Nike. And he's getting awfully unhealthy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 damage in hand. With the Fire Imp, that's another, what, 2 damage? We've got 8 damage in hand. So we can put him down to 1 health. But the question is, do we want to do that? Or do we want to try and deal with this Nike? And honestly, I think we summon our own Nike. I think if we summon our own Nike, we're in a pretty nice position here. And you'll notice Brontes there, he got buffed again. We'll hit Zeus. We'll hit Zeus. And the thing is, they can't get to my Nike with his Nike, so I feel like all in all we're in a pretty good position. We still have that Fire Imp in hand, should we want to use it. And yeah, I think all things told, we're in a strong position. His Nike can't get to my Nike, so I can actually use my Nike to kill his, and just trade them out on the next turn. As things stand, he's down to, what, 3 health. And he can't clear, you know, both of these units. He has to pick one. There's the clear coming out. But the thing is, he has to run away. Oh no, I can't quite get close enough. I stand corrected. I was going to say he has to run away. We can Fire Imp and auto-attack the Brute this turn. So I think that's probably what we're going to look to do here. Because in doing that, you know, we put ourselves in a pretty good position. And we've got Aphrodite too. So we'll put the Fire Imp out. We'll take this one out. which is totally fine. Just clear the knight completely. Move our own knight in. And so here we have Aphrodite, and so I think what we'll do is we'll go for Aphrodite rather than Hades. So we'll Aphrodite and kiss our knight. We'll also play Sentry Ward. We maybe could have played Sentry Ward first. We got a teleport. That's actually quite good because we can use it to get our knight into position should we need to. We'll clear up the Marksman without retaliation, and then we will end our turn. And you can see we've had control of this match the entire time, and that's kind of what you want to do with Greek, is you want to keep summoning units and keeping control of the match while whittling away your opponent. He's down to 3 health, and he's got a brute. You know, he's not really in a hot spot. And we can, like I say, teleport in our knight into a strategic position with that fortunate draw. Teleport is actually also a really nice card that you could put in this deck. But I was trying to keep it, you know, as cheap as possible, and I think Scion of Doom and Nike are more relevant or more useful than teleport. So that's why we don't have it, personally. Okay, so you can see here he's gone for the Enyo. And actually this is quite funny because if he moves forward, he wants to move forward so that he can hit Aphrodite, but if he moves forward to hit Aphrodite, then in doing that, he actually moves away from the brute. The other thing we can actually do, teleport a unit anywhere, we can move the brute out the way. I think that's what we're going to do. Alternatively, we could have silenced him. I wonder if silencing stops guard. I think it does. So we silence him. He no longer has the guard. Alternatively, we could have teleported it out the way. And you can see this is why silence is useful. And then we can just move our knight in and win the game. And there you go. That is the Greek deck. And you see he had Enyo. You know, he has legendary cards in his deck. But I think you can definitely still win with beginner cards if you know, put the time in to kind of understand how to play your deck and maybe how to play against other decks. But that's kind of the gist of that deck, is you want to just keep, you know, maintaining board presence and clearing what they do with your units. But it's a very unit-focused deck. And then as, you know, time goes on and you build up your collection cards that fit quite nicely into this sort of deck. Nemesis, she is a 2/2 and she only costs 2 mana, and Warcry half a target's health and add that health to hers. So she's 2 cost, and you can basically take a bunch of health off a unit and give it to yourself, so make your Nemesis stronger. I definitely think she's a strong unit to, you know, include into Greek decks, and I do think you do see her quite often on the ladder. Similarly, you know, you saw Scylla there and you saw Thanatos for clear. These are options that you can include. Other options, Enyo and Medusa are other cards that you could, you know, definitely, if you're looking for the long term of this deck, look to fit into them. But I'm really happy with the deck, and if you like this video, do hit that thumbs up button, guys. Let me know what else you want to see from me in the comments below in terms of different content. But this has been Beginner Zeus, and we'll continue our beginner deck series going forward as we update our beginner decks for all of the new players coming in. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in the next video.